the 10th of July 2020, afternoon, 27 to 6 p.m. A very sunny day. The sun is shining straight into my face. I have rearranged my room again, so now it's not exactly as it used to be when I started living here, but the table actually, but I call it my desk after Donald Trump from my desk. The table is at the window, so when the afternoon comes, I cannot work here really because the sun is shining straight into my face, and it's somewhat blinding. But it's good for the reception of whatever comes from there. It's very difficult to receive whatever right now and to get in contact really, because there's so much confusion resulting from the accumulated masses and presences with all sorts of perversions of whatever really is and whatever really changes and how it changes. But nonetheless, I believe that when there is a strong intention, one can somehow use that power of pure intention and it arrives. I have had a very important realization which I communicated in my last recording concerning this important time in Poland, the presidential election. Overall, it's very cultural in the sense of my new findings, which we are not really made aware of, like the European Union, which roots us in the Greek culture, in the Greek roots. So this is a major change from the Roman one, the ancient Rome, the ancient Greece. We do not have much knowledge of it, and the knowledge that we have, if we learn it at school, is quite stereotypical. The example I always quote is Artemis. So the way the ancient times function in Poland is Christianity belongs to the right wing and the ancient times belong to the left wing. And what is meant then by the ancient times is usually the Dionysia, so or the Plato gay societies. And there is certainly the kind of the academy, the learning in the former left wing. They were famous for it. They were very well developed intellectually, very high level. You could really have a discussion, a conversation. You could really get a sense of fulfillment. It went far beyond the superficiality of simple write down and learn and then produce at your exam, which is what we have arrived at in our times. This is heroism. But on the other hand, this was also a twisted image, because they don't talk about virgins on the left side, and there is no prestige, so the only virgin that we actually had in Poland was Virgin Mary, and of course other virgins, but viewed through the lens of the Roman Catholic Church, not even Christianity. And the context in which I live is a total explosion of all those rocky stereotypes, where I opened the world and started with my creation of the noble kingdom of Metropolitania, and that was the first name. The name derived from the capital city Agnipolis. I created in November 2013 Polis, my city, and my name is Agnieszka. So the beginning is Agni, but I immediately connected it to the India goddess, Agni. So there is a Sanskrit, Latin, and Greek chastity, and this is a spiritual quality. So we do get married, but we remain virgins, as pure beings. They were laughing that I will have Isis. I don't know if this is what I will have in Egypt, but Isis is powerful enough, I believe. The problem is Isis takes care of both the archetypical virgin and the archetypical whore. But I believe that the virgins are higher because these are the connection with gods. So the Vestals, that's the word you use in English, or are they called differently? Obviously cannot be desecrated. Communists are famous for desecration, but not only communists, and perhaps this is really my story that comes out of the Babel Royal Castle. If you think of the Shakespeare's creation, Othello, then we actually enter the court, and well, perhaps we do not enter the court in Othello, or not quite knowingly, but I believe that there might be something about the court which has to do with some as yet not defined spirit, but the spirit really present, which acts in a similar fashion. So this is something we are not fully aware of in our thinking right now, I believe, and something that we should perhaps become aware of. The ugly presences, they are called maszkarony in Polish, that appear on the buildings, and I always had this question mark in my mind when I would go to the Babel Royal Cathedral to participate in the Holy Mass. There's another question about the actual look of the ancient people. So they might not have been that ugly to themselves because they were of the one kind. But then I do believe that there's also that something is in there, and it might be that the actual first attack from that spiritual level that came into my virginal life is somehow connected with that group, or with that existence, that love. I'm not sure. This is very difficult, but we certainly need to become free in the cognitive sense. So to be able to get out of this stereotypical thinking, and it's becoming more and more difficult through the routing that has been introduced. So the current, I'm really out of tune right now, because the current world is going in a totally different direction, where I was for comprehensive education, the United States were for specialization, and now it has gone even further. It has gone into sets of responses, and sets of 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 sets, plus eternity, plus infinity, excuse me. Uh, so that probably has to do with the digitalization and the digital civilizations arriving on the planet Earth. They can control things as long as there is this procedure in. So if people do not think in procedures, if they introduce variety or departure from what is expected and calculated, then the control system gets unstable, which is probably a very important security point for the human race. Where are we? As you know, I want to switch to Spanish, German, and French. Spanish, both Spain and Latin America. This is a new context. I need to. I see what will be coming to me from that, and of course I don't mean the attack, but I mean the spiritual qualities that can perhaps free themselves from the sets they have been rooted into and kept within for generations, centuries now. There is a big question of the Roman Catholic Church and the presence of Jesus. I want to emphasize that I do believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and he was here on the planet Earth teaching. His lessons are sacred to me. Now, what we have in the Bible is, to me, what God present in the Son as the Son. So this is complex because God actually imprisoned himself in a human form. I don't know what consequences it might have, but God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. So he should know if it's he. But I believe that for that culture it is he. Obviously in the East we have she. Apart from he. But she is very powerful. And where I was arriving is that we have the ancient Rome. So the Roman Catholic Church is actually the ancient Rome present. But there's the question of the freedom of spirit and the suppression that it might have undergone, the divine spirit. So I believe that the Bible is the sacred book that can communicate, where God can communicate to us even if something was taken out of the Bible and something was put in. That if we have this purity of life, truthfulness, then we can really somehow communicate. And it's quite important also to be very cautious about the word being the word of God or being the word of someone else. Some evil impact. My world is quite fascinating. Today I have discovered another, or perhaps I will not mention it anyway. I just mentioned that what has arrived to is, would you like to be the person you are for, and I'm not sure if it was centuries to come or always. And then there was the mention of stagnation and boredom. So, oh, thank you indeed. Well, actually, I would like to be the person I am, but the conditions around me are devastating. So, because I believe that I myself, without anything, I am a huge potential. I'm not sure if infinite, but if I come from God, then probably infinite. You know, there's so much that I had, and even since I had it in 2016, so much I have developed that it, it's like I have this whole huge, unthinkably wonderful life, and it's been all suppressed by physical means, but torture, by suppression, by unthinkable devastation that one human being can do to another. So I believe that we have a problem with assessing what's going on in the world. I do believe that it has to do with the planet Earth being targeted for a takeover, for a hostile takeover by a different civilization from the one that had been ruling it so far. At one point I had this thought that the end of the civilization really starts with the introduction of the first machine. The man, paradoxically enough, stops being free. But at that stage it's not that bad yet. It's then that it becomes really crazy. It's quite difficult to define my relations with the machine world because it's not, it's probably also varied. If we think in terms of conquest, then I'm definitely this person who stands up there and says, no, my world is natural, free, people are free, life is free, human beings, animal beings, plants in natural vegetation. And I believe it comes from God originally, but we are being given evidence that it can be man-made, with the implication that it has always been so. I'm not in agreement with that. I believe that it started with God, and man has gone too far in his ambition to be God. Man is not God. What else can I say? I have resumed the projects I have not been thinking of much. I have rearranged my room, so there are many of them. I will try to, perhaps I can also, today I have remembered that I was actually to create my, or at least to somehow outline my creation of my noble queendom as a therapy, because this is exactly what it started with. I was fed up with the world created by others, so I created my own. The thing is that this creation, it was to be personal and intimate, and you know, nothing really big, just you know, what I focus my attention on, and the little world I live in has become a power, and actually a superpower of a global impact, and on a very high spiritual plane, which was not my intention at first, but it might have been the intention of God. And I have a lot of problems now, because obviously I'm not educated to be the monarch, or at least I think so. No recollections of the kind. So I'll be working, and perhaps I can use this idea I had earlier with Russian, so just to make short videos informing on weekly or daily basis of what's going on in my recordings in Spanish, German and French. Instead of making the presentation of the Queendom as such, because it seems to be too high a level right now. I would probably be able to do it in German, but German is not my focus right now. Spanish is my focus, and French also becomes my focus because I was to learn French in the secondary school, and it was replaced by Russian, so there might be something in it. And I also changed my plans, departing from that strategy of, you know, now doing the monarchic study of history, and I went into this free flow of things that I need to look into now because it comes to my mind, or things that I have to learn now because it comes to my mind, or things that I should probably busy myself with because I might die. Which is also a valid point. One should have a sense of fulfillment when the time comes. Agnieszka, Justitia the First of Onestia, the noble queen, the noble queendom of Onestia. Agnipolitania was the first name. I changed it into Onestia in 2019 because there were claims to authorship, and apart from the criminality related to people stealing what is mine, so this is about identity, life that I have lived, not them. And also about my creations, my intellectual achievements, and the overall wealth that comes out of it, that is not created by the person who claims the authorship, but that is created by me. And this is quite outrageous, and obviously this shows no respect for God at all, because the gifts we have, as we have them, are the lifetimes we have lived, but originally we come from God. That's what I believe. The 10th of July 2020. Agnieszka Beata Magdalena Rojek in Polish. Agnieszka Beata from baptism, Magdalena from confirmation. So the very name is telling. Obviously nothing to do with Satanism. Alright, and let me just add that because I did not make it really clear in my yesterday's recording, I'm going into American English. This is not really my English. Mine is, it's not RP, but it's going in the direction of the British English. I have never been strong in that. It has not been my strong point, I mean pronunciation. When I said that my post was to be the last, and may it be the last, I meant my posts in Twitter. So because it might not be clear from the perspective of YouTube. So till yesterday I was using, I had been using Twitter for posting, and now I just relate to what others post without posting on my wall, and I'll be adding recordings here. So I think that should be all. I do have some positive visions in the tragedy of the impossibility right now, but India, actually India.